Welcome to part 7 of this demonstration of a YUI-based Ajax application being developed using EWD. At the end of part 6 we had created the transition for the login form so that it would bring up the new instance of the menu bar. Now we're going to look at field validation. So how do we get it so that we can test the username and password? To do that, we go to our login panel, and what we need to add is a new attribute in here, and that's action equals, and that is going to be a Python function in our library.py module, and we're going to call that check login. That's all we need to state in there, and that will instruct EWD to invoke that action as soon as it's submitted the form and sent everything to the back end. So we'll save that, and now we need to add that function check login into our library.py module. I'm going to drag that in from here, and very simple little function we need to add. Let me explain what this is doing. So it's our check login function that we referred to in the login form page. You'll notice the SES-ID parameter there that's mandatory. The first and second lines of it, username equals EWD get session value, and the second one to get the password. EWD get session value is an API that's built into EWD, which will retrieve the specified value of a session variable. In this case, it's username and password. Where have those come from? Well, here's one of the cool things. When you submit a form in EWD, it automatically instantiates, without you having to do anything else, instances of session variables which correspond to the field names. So if we go over into here, into our login panel fragment, you'll see that it had two fields, username up here and password down here, and it's the name field that's the critical thing. And EWD, when this form is submitted, will instantiate these two values that were in the form into correspondingly named session variables. So over here, we don't have to do anything else other than pick up those session values because they're already there for us, and now we can do the validation logic. Now normally we would look up the username and password in a database just for speed of getting this running. I'm just going to hard code it here so that the username has to be Rob and the password has to be Rob. And if that's true, we tell EWD that everything is okay by just returning null. Otherwise, we return a literal value of invalid login attempt. And that is literally all you need to do in order to create that alert that comes up. That's the default action if you return with a non-null string. So let's just see this in action. We'll save our new version of library.py. We need to recompile our copy of login panel. Let's actually do that. Instead of recompiling the entire application, let's just do compile page, because all we need to do is recompile the one page, and you can do that if you wish. And that's the page name, which was login panel. And there we are, that's just recompiled that, everything else remains the same. Okay, let's have a look at this running in the browser now, see if it's going to work for us. So we will reload the application from the top, and now if we put in invalid username and password, sure enough, there's our invalid login attempt, and that came automatically just by us saying that with the return with that string. But if we put in Rob and Rob, then that lets us through and the menu changes. So we're nearly there now. The only thing we need to do now is to get rid of this login panel, which is still sitting there. Because EWD is HTTP based, only one transition occurs at a time, so we can't replace two fragments at once with EWD. Not directly, but one of the nice things about EWD's fragments is that they come with the ability to have a simulated onload event handler. So if we go back to our main menu widget, the main menu fragment, which looked like this. This is what's generating the new instance of the menu bar. So when this loads, what we could do is invoke an onload event handler to then get rid of the login panel. The way we can do that is by adding this guy up in here. So this special custom tag, it's a built-in custom tag, EWD Ajax onload, is what produces an onload event handler. And inside it we can put in any JavaScript we like, and in this case we're going to fetch a fragment that we're going to call empty page using the EWD Ajax request function, and we're going to put that into main container, which is the div which currently contains the login form. Now we don't have empty page yet, let's just save that. And empty page is literally going to be what it says, an empty fragment. We could do this in other ways, but this is quite a cool trick and worth demonstrating. So we're going to have a page called emptypage.ewd, and what we're going to add into it is an empty fragment. So it has to have the EWD config tag, but it's just an empty div. Save that. So now we'll go back in here and we'll recompile. This time we'll do a recompilation of the entire application because we've made a couple of changes there. Okay, now let's have a look at what happens. Let's reload the application from the start. This time, so if we try and submit it without any username and password, invalid login attempt, login as Rob, password Rob, and now, there we go. Main menu has changed, and then it's pulled in this empty page. Now why did I use empty page? Well, one of the things I wanted to do here was to destroy that login form widget. And by using an empty fragment, I'm making use of the technique that's built into the YUI custom tags that I've built. And if we look down here at the Firebug trace, you'll see what I mean. When empty page was brought in, it deleted the widgets that were that represented the login panel and the submit button that was in there. So those have now been destroyed from the YUI JavaScript environment, all by just pulling in an empty page. So we're getting well on the way now. We've got the login transition. The next stage in the next part will be to show you how we're going to bring in this library application and get it started. See you in part 8.